Welcome to Source Medicine. My name is Nikolay Ayerov, quantum security specialist and founder of Avo Peace.
And I'm Anita, medical herbalist, biomedical scientist, intuitive healer, and frequency medicine practitioner. Together, we explore what it means to remember that healing doesn't start with fixing something broken, but with listening to what is already whole.
Each week, we'll travel between the seen and the unseen, from ancient herbal wisdom, nutrition, and nervous system science, to energy work, polarity, and the quiet intelligence that moves through all of us.
Our conversations aren't prescriptions, they are invitations. We are not here to tell you what's true, but to help you feel truth in your own body.
So wherever you are, walking, driving, taking a rest, let it remind you that you are part of the medicine.
This is Source Medicine. Welcome to our next episode of the Source Medicine podcast. I am Anita, and here's also Nikolay. Today we are tracking one of the most important topics in the health, so the root causes of chronic illnesses. Chronic conditions don't just appear out of nowhere, but they develop over time due to the mix of physical, emotional, energetic, and even spiritual imbalances. And in this episode, we'll break down the key factors from environmental toxins and nutritional deficiencies to chronic stress, trauma, and deeper energetic and metaphysical influences on health. So let's start with the physical aspects of chronic illnesses because they are the most obvious, well understood, but often overlooked causes. Number one are environmental toxins. So our environment plays a crucial role in the health because every toxin that is present in our air, in our food, in the water we drink, enters our system. The worst part is that we are exposed to them constantly, and we sometimes even don't realize that. It's easy to think of toxins as something much bigger, like pollution from the factory, but in reality, they are everywhere. It has been reported that nearly a quarter of our diseases globally are linked to environmental factors, and they are nowadays the number one root cause of chronic illnesses. So let's just talk of few of them. Number one, I would say the most important environmental toxins that are linked to chronic illnesses are heavy metals. So things like lead, mercury, aluminum that accumulate in our body over time that affects our nervous system, our immune system, and the brain function. Mercury is known to damage also mitochondria, so the powerhouses of our cells. And when mitochondria don't function well, we start to experience symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, chronic inflammation. And another danger environmental factor is mold and mold toxins called mycotoxins. This is a topic that is often overlooked. And I am quite a fan of that topic because I was exposed to mold in molded building and affected by mold quite severely. As I said, the mold lives in water-damaged building, but it's also present in many foods like rice, grains, coffee. Mold releases mycotoxins, so very tiny toxic compounds that trigger inflammation, and over time they weaken our immune system, they block the body detoxification mechanism. It leads also to neurological symptoms like anxiety, OCD, depression, cognitive dysfunction. And the mold is also linked to different chronic health conditions like MS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and so on. And the next environmental toxin which I want to touch is endocrine disruptors, meaning the chemicals that interfere with our hormones. And things like BPA in plastic bottles, phthalates in beauty products, pesticides from the food, they mimic our natural hormones and leads to the hormonal imbalances. And in long term, they may cause thyroid dysfunction, metabolic diseases like obesity, like diabetes, and even infertility. Another toxins are, for example, electromagnetic field, and we are exposed to this on a daily basis, even when we hold our phone, when we switch the Wi-Fi on, And this is quite often overlooked because we believe that what we don't see, it doesn't affect us. Yet, nothing more wrong. The electromagnetic field has been linked to many health conditions, including cancer. So I want to switch now to the second physical aspect of the chronic illnesses, which is poor diet and nutritional imbalances, because there's not one thing that determines our health more on a daily basis than what we put on our plates. So nutrition is the foundation for every function in the body, from energy, immune system, hormones, brain function, and even the ability to detox from all these environmental toxins I've been just talking. And yet most people are dealing with some form of malnutrition, whether it's lack of vitamins, minerals, or imbalance in micronutrients like proteins, fat, and carbohydrates. Let's a bit maybe dive into some of these macronutrients like proteins, fats, and carbs, because this is what we need the most. And here the people usually think that they eat enough when they get enough of calories, and they're fine. But that's not true, because calories has nothing to do with our nutrition. Only the balance between the protein, fat, and carbs is necessary for our health. So forget about the calories. And of course, the fat. The fat is, I would say, number one, because it builds our brain, it builds hormones, it builds every cell membrane in our body. So making sure of intake of, for example, omega-3 fatty acids, that will in long term decrease the possibility of chronic conditions like even depression or anxiety of autoimmune diseases. We need a lot of amino acids that are building blocks for the proteins. So things like meat, eggs, fish, cheese, nuts are the best sources of them. And without proper amount of proteins, our body cannot regenerate, cannot heal. Beyond macronutrients, we have also micronutrients like vitamins and minerals that our body needs in small amounts, but they have massive effect on our health. And in today's world, when our soil is depleted, many people are running low of essential nutrients like magnesium and zinc. And here's some example. Up to 50% of the global population lack magnesium, and around 70% of people nowadays are depleted in zinc. And magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in our body. So a low level of magnesium will be linked to so many conditions, including anxiety, insomnia, even the heart problems. And mineral deficiencies come not only from the poor soil, but also from the way how the food is processed. The more processed food, the less nutrients it contains. So next we have chronic infections, which is the most overlooked root cause, because people think that infection is short-term, flu-like, or cold. But if I told you that many infections don't go away completely, instead they stay in the body in the low grade and chronic form, causing the inflammation or long-term damage. So, for example, bacterial infection like Lyme disease, viral infection like Epstein-Barr virus, fungi like Candida, even mold colonization in the body, and parasites, they all can hide in so many body organs and can be not recognized by our body because of the presence of biofilm that is used by these pathogens to cover themselves and be protected against our immune system. So next, it's the genes. And here I want to really focus a bit more about it, because there's a misconception about the genes. People think that if they have a genetic mutation, they will get a certain disease. Our genes, of course, determine how we look, but they don't necessarily need to determine we will get certain disease, because it's not about the genes, it's about the epigenetics, means how the environment means the environmental toxins, means the diet, means the infection affect the gene expression. Also, our thoughts have very big impact on the epigenetics. So means if we are stressed, if we are in constant survival mode, then this will lead to switching off or switching on certain genes that are responsible for certain pathways in our body that are dealing, for example, with the inflammatory responses in the body or cancer cells removal from the body. So again, genes are not your final destiny. Will you get some disease or will you not get disease? They only tell you how you can focus on your body to prevent possible health problems. So next one will be chronic stress. And that's a big one because chronic stress is the most damaging force in the body. When we are constantly in the fight or flight mode, our body prioritizes survival over healing. And this is why, for example, high cortisol is nowadays linked to suppressed immune system. Gut dysfunction and stress reduces also the beneficial bacteria in the gut, causing inflammation. Stress also will create hormonal imbalances, and that will cause to issues like estrogen dominance and adrenal fatigue. And of course, on the top, it comes trauma, like childhood trauma that comes from any accidents in life or loss of a loved person. They will create this like emotional pain that become also the physical pain. But not many people realize that actually the physical symptoms what we are getting are coming from much deeper layer of us and not just the environmental or any physical root causes that we have. It comes from much deeper imbalances at the emotional level. And I'm not talking that, well, people get crazy and they get health problems. It's rather the chronic stress and how we respond to that stress or any situation in life, what kind of belief we get from this. And that will definitely shape all the physiological responses in the body, because our brain will not recognize what is truth and what is not truth. And when we constantly deal with stress, the body will respond with a lot of signaling to that stress that will absolutely stress every organ in the body, causing the disbalances at all possible levels. So I would say at the moment, even the toxicity is considered as the number one physical root cause. I would say that it goes much deeper, that stress and the safety issue, it's much bigger root cause than even the toxins. And the next, of course, the spiritual metaphysical causes that are much deeper. And maybe Nikolay can talk more about this.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm really happy that you kind of created the structure for us where you gave us the doctor's prescription of everything that's happening and basically all the environmental factors that go into position to uh, weaken our immune system and our biological structure on a very physical level, from having uh, exposure to mold, to different heavy metals, to different diseases that will come through inflammation and everything that you spoke about. But then that's about 50% of our understanding of the human body, and this is 100% essentially of what modern medicine focuses on. It's essentially saying, hey, this is all there is. It's just the physical body, and we're going to treat the symptoms, and we're going to look at the symptoms. And if there is pain, we're going to cover the symptoms up with some form of pain relief. And we're not actually going to look at the root cause of what's happening. So when diseases or inflammation or cancers pop up in our lives, it is long-term process that's been happening where just enough systems were stressed long enough for decades to where the body just eventually starts giving up or giving out um, because it's just under too much stress and there's not enough support energetically as well as physically, as with the diet and everything if it is poor. So, our intentions with this podcast, with this show in this moment of root causes is specifically to address what is actually going on in your body because 50% of being better is knowing why you're sick, right? That relief of knowing, hey, at least I have a direction to now I can go forward. Because 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, when we go to doctors, we see, okay, I have this condition. So I go to the oncologist and then the other one and then the other one and then I don't know all the names for them, but essentially there's a doctor for each specialty. And essentially, each one basically says, hey, this is outside of my understanding. Oh, this is an unexplained phenomenon. Or something is just not adding up, or we don't have an answer for you. And many, many, many people go through the cycle of, hey, I don't know what's going on. I can even use an example that I've experienced, in the last few months with my father. He had an issue with his shoulder, some nerve pains that he just couldn't explain, lost the use of his like right hand for a little while. He went to 7 different specialists, got every possible x-ray done, every possible test. I'm sorry, you just have pain in your arm and it'll go away. That's basically a diagnosis. Um, and this is for chronic diseases like you know lupus or uh, what other chronic diseases are there that we can experience?
Less.
Yeah, MS, any kind of blood disease or a chronic arthritis or something like that. Most of the times doctors do not look further than the physiology, and the physiology does not hold the answers. The physiology essentially holds the outcome of the answer, but the answer lies deeper within us through energetic pathways, through the meridian systems, through our energy and our electrical bodies. And essentially, I'll kind of make the quantum realm of understanding as easy as possible for people that don't even understand the word quantum. So essentially, what is happening in our bodies on an energetic level is, and this is actually already documented within the HeartMath Institute of Science, where the people like Dr. Joe Dispenza speak about this. I'm using him as a famous name, but essentially, what is happening is we're constantly the cells in our body, which is trillions, are shifting in and out of reality. So we are structure, and then it, there's structure, and then there's the quantum. So the quantum is the blueprint of our reality. And when the quantum superpositions itself in front of the physical, it becomes then the physical, right? So this is our organs, this is our biochemistry, this is our skeletal structure. That is the physical. Now, when the energetic backlog or the quantum field of us, the multidimensional layers, are confused and tangled and restricted, and the energy pathways are blocked, and nothing like there's ancestral traumas, there's childhood traumas, there's accidents, there's relationship issues, there's heartbreaks, there's all of these things that pile up on top of every aspect that you mentioned, the toxicity in our environments, the poor diets, the stress in our work life. All of these things reflect each other to some degree, to all degree, because typically whatever is happening in the non-physical realm of ourselves is going to start mirroring the physical. So when we tap into ourselves on a deeper emotional level, we start understanding that there is a lot that we're not able to see. For example, the light spectrum we're only have access to about 1% of the light spectrum, meaning the reality we're seeing, which is vast, which is a lot, is only 1% of reality, essentially, because light is essentially how we experience reality, right? Light hits our eyes and then it projects what we see in front of us. The different spectrums of light and different ways of seeing reality is very, we're not going to get into that because it gets a little too complicated. But essentially, what is happening is as you understand, I shouldn't say understand, as you start becoming aware that there is more to your body than just physicality, that your emotions, that your thoughts, that your past experiences and the way you process certain things have created certain imbalances within your body. And as you see how how your organs can start relating. Chinese medicine is a great example, um, where they map basically different points to different parts of the body, and if you touch one point, it affects a specific organ. So let me, because when I speak, I see things in a very different way. So what I'm trying to do is to help everybody understand that, because when I see things, I see a blueprint of the human body. And that blueprint is essentially what the original template of how things should function. So when you're looking at that blueprint and you're seeing all of the things that are basically saying, okay, the code is wrong here, the sequencing is off here, the DNA is firing improperly here, there's backlogs of emotion here, there's interference patterns here. It paints this huge picture, much like a doctor would be looking at an X-ray and seeing any abnormalities on the screen. Basically, I see that in the invisible sense, in the quantum sense, and from there, this gives me or has given me an awareness of and a lot of practical application where as this blueprint is shifted and as it is corrected in a harmonious way with how we're meant to live, and meaning that either emotions are felt, be it fear, shame, guilt, or fear, or any kind of scarcity or survival patterns. When that blueprint starts clearing, that quantum superpositioning enters now the physical realm, and that new light that infused through the original blueprint will come into your physical system and actually help heal certain patterns within you without potentially any extreme intervention on the physical side. You can see relief in symptoms, in many different parts of your life through just feeling more peaceful, through having less pain, through having better numbers in your blood results, to having much smaller potential reductions of certain growths in your body that, metastasize in any way. All of these things are just a reflection of how energy medicine in implies into the physical realm. And like you're aware in the scientific community, energy medicine is this woo-woo thing that is, there's no tested things, there's nothing quantifiable about it, and more or less it's dismissed as something that is not reality, let's just say it, for the scientific community, where it's, yeah, if you want to mention a few things about that, I mean,
because
yeah.
as a scientist, a person who was chronically ill, I strongly believe only in the physical aspects of health. And whatever I tried to do, I was focusing only on the physical body because this is something I could measure. This is something I could experience with my senses. So I needed something that is scientifically proven and I get the result. And over whole illness time and my healing journey, I tried so many different things. So detoxing heavy metals, parasites, mold, bacteria, viruses, and so on, just name it. I improved to some level. And what I noticed that after a month or two, symptoms were returning. Some symptoms were returning. Of course, I started to connect more dots. The more I went deeper into the topic, I started to say, okay, there's probably biofilm. I have to address that too, to actually address the chronic infection. Oh, I have a still parasite. Maybe there's heavy metal still in my body. Okay, let's go back and do the heavy metal detox. So no, it felt like a really close cycle of things that I had to repeat and repeat and repeat. And for, again, the
It was a 9-year cycle for you as well, correct?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, 9 years. Like
yeah.
altogether was like, I would say 20 years, but the 9 years was the hardest time for me. So I was repeating the cycles. And of course, there was the times when I felt better were kind of prolonged. So I could feel better for 2-3 months, 4 months, but never that they would diminish totally. And that was the moment when I felt, well, I'm missing something. And I tried already and I connected all the physical possibilities. So there was nothing else I could explore in that level of healing. So I start to go into spirituality. And that was actually the moment which I thought in our first episode when I shared my own story, that when my grandpa passed, that was really a big switch for me. I went much deeper. And I tried different energy healing. And at the beginning, I was really, let's say, not touched with it. So I was trying, I wanted to try, but I wasn't sure if this even works, because how I could prove it. And the moment, well, I have very sensitive body, I have very sensitive smell, immune system. So I can spot in the environment, like quite quickly, what's wrong. I can even spot in people what's wrong just by smelling them. So, when I went to the first energy healing, and the same day I was like, well, I couldn't feel anything. Nothing happened to me. The next 2 days I was in the bed because I got such a detox reaction. And it was repeating. I said like, oh, wow, there must be something. And of course, I started also read about it. And there is more and more science also about it. But still, it's a very neglected topic when it comes to healing something chronic. In general, chronic for me doesn't mean that it's lifelong. Unfortunately, in academic medicine, this term is equal to lifelong condition, and that's already very depressing for people, that they even have to think they must take medication to the end of their life. And you said something I want to still mention. You said something about like going from doctor to doctor.
Yes.
Finding the root cause. You gave example of your dad, and I could say the same from my personal experience. I was going from doctor to doctor, and the problem is that the doctors do not at the moment look at the root cause. That's not a fault of the doctors, it's the fault of the system and the education system, how it's nowadays. Yes. Because the doctors, I believe, they do all their best. They use all the knowledge they have to help people. But if you have 10 minutes appointment, and you have to run maybe 1 or max 2 tests because must be cost efficient at the same time, there's no way you will get the whole case history of that person. And you will look only on something that happens now and not something that happened 20 years ago to that person, like, let's say, food poisoning or traumatic injury. The problem is also that doctors, I think, because of the education, believe that certain mechanisms in our bodies are already the root causes. So, for example, inflammation. Now the academic medicine acknowledge inflammation as a big part of all chronic illnesses, and they tell about this like that would be the root cause. It's not the root cause. It's just the physiological, biochemical mechanism, how the real root cause affects our body to lead to chronic illness. So it's absolutely misunderstanding that certain pathways in the bodies are the root causes. No, they are just the mechanisms. And definitely that the academic medicine nowadays do not focus on the root cause. They only focus on the symptoms, which you also mentioned. People take painkillers to hide the pain instead of looking what causes the pain. And it's not to look only at the physical level, because the pain may come from, let's say, infection. Yeah. Gut dysbiosis, person has the abdominal pain. When you go deeper to it, wow, you may think there are suppressed emotions. They were never digested by this person. They cause the pain. Then you go even deeper. Oh, are they actually yours emotions, or they are emotions of somebody else who was in your life, or it's in your lineage, like genetic lineage? There's so much layers when we talk about the root causes and the chronic illness. And I believe that only when we address all of them one by one, then we can reclaim the health, because the health is there. I mean, our body has huge capacity of healing, and the healing happens every day if you just support with nutrients, with the rest. Well, actually, lack of rest is a really, really big root cause also of chronic conditions. And we feel safe. We work on our emotions. I believe that there's no way one person cannot get out from any illness, even if it says by the academic medicine that this is incurable, because it's also about our beliefs. And that's another
100%.
layer. Our
Yeah.
beliefs.
Nothing is incurable.
Yeah. If
I
we
know that's
believe.
controversial. I know it's very controversial to say nothing's incurable. And, modern medicine has many
Mhm.
labels of what is curable, what is not incurable. But I strongly believe nothing is incurable because everything is energy. And if you know, or you know somebody who knows energy, there is always a way. There's always a way to move that energy. And what I would like to kind of get into is, since this is a little bit of a complex topic, I want to kind of create an example, right? Would you be okay with using one of your, stories of an organ that you've worked through, where certain things have how you've mapped out the physical aspects of, like, what is the biological implication of that organ and the functions of the organ, like either the liver or the heart or whichever you wish to choose, and then how the energetics that you realize played it, and then how the shift you experienced with the physical and then the non-physical, and then, but more or less the symptoms, because at one point there was pain, from what I understand, and many people deal with some form of organ pain if they're unwell, right? Be it bloating, be it liver pain, be it some kidney swelling, be it heart palpitations or hard to breathe. That's also a big thing. So these organs, some make this as a normal thing, and they're just like, this is my normal standard of life. But the way I see pain as is a check engine light for your car. It's saying, hey, there is a diagnostic issue in your body, and pain is just saying something is wrong. Because if we didn't feel pain, we would never know anything is wrong until our body just collapsed and, our life would end. So pain it's a very debilitating thing, but it's also very instrumental in helping us understand what's going on. Even like something like a headache. I know many women suffer with chronic headaches and go through all these problems, but it's I can't say simply, but it is a lot of times, especially now in the times we're going through, it's energetic overwhelm. Our nervous systems are stressed from the physical world, from the toxins, and now from the state of the collective consciousness and how everyone's shifting and evolving, and certain things are no longer able to be ignored. Nothing is being able to ignore it in our reality. And I feel like this podcast is a beacon for most people to understand, yeah, things are going to keep moving forward and more things are coming up. So no, you're not crazy. No, you're not going insane. And here we're here just to tell you the simple steps that you can take to whatever challenge you may be facing, from relational to health to, not being accepted by, the medical industry, to anything you can possibly think of, essentially. So, with all of that said, would you be comfortable sharing a specific example of yours so we can kind of
Absolutely.
understand? And I can also, you can also use one of my organs, as you've been very understanding of certain parts of me. So I have no problem as well if that's however you want to look at it.
I can start with mine.
Yeah,
So
by all
I
means.
want to maybe focus on lungs. Even
Yeah,
the liver was at the beginning the biggest problem. It started
yeah,
for me from liver, but somehow I feel like I want to talk about lungs because we all breathe, and the
yeah,
breathing is, the crucial for our
yeah,
survival. Our So I started to have a breathing problems at my workplace, which as a scientist, I was working with a lot of chemicals, synthetic chemicals, and the place where I was working was a water damage. So there was hidden mold, and we didn't know much about it. So breathing the fumes of chemicals together with, mycotoxins from the mold exposure created quite big stress on my lungs. And of course, I start to detox all of this. Still, my breathing was not improving. What I did, because personally I don't take synthetic medications just because I'm sensitive to chemicals and I didn't want to take them. So the way I was dealing with my asthma symptoms was using just natural approaches. So inhaling like essential oils, and of course, different herbs that support the lung function. Breathing exercises, quite good one for me was the Wim Hof method. So I was dealing with that, and again, there was times when breathing was getting better, and again was falling apart, I would say. Then I realized that wow, actually, asthma is linked to one particular parasite, which is called Ascaris, very typical in children. Quite many children who has asthma and they grew up from asthma, it's because they were infested with that particular parasite. So of course I healed the parasites and the breathing again improved. So I was very happy. But my lungs were very sensitive. There was hypersensitivity, like immune reaction to everything in my environment. So the mold, some smells, again, my lungs were contracting. So I felt again like I would have asthma attacks, which were milder and milder every step I took. And when I realized how much emotions, how much energy plays in our health, I went back to the year when I started to have that asthma symptoms. And that was exactly the year where my grandpa passed. And we were very connected. So, and I know that the sadness I was carrying and the grief was unprocessed. And now, when we look at traditional Chinese medicine, what they say about the lungs and lung problem is exactly the lungs are carrying the sadness and the grief. So I was working on the grief and on the sadness, and that was improving my lung function. Still, that wasn't enough. There was still some sensitivities. So, okay.
And can you, before we move on to that, can you kind of explain maybe a little what practices or what you did to feel those emotions, and how do you process the grief and the sadness? As I'm sure many people have experienced grief in their life, and most have experienced sadness because this world is a little sad, to say the least. So, well, because I feel some people like to, have a little bit of a tool set. So what was most effective for you at the time?
Well, I think the first big help was that I could feel my grandpa's presence. So I felt like, oh, he's physically not here, but actually he is here.
Yeah,
So that he gave me a release that I kind of didn't lose him
yeah,
forever. He's dead
yes,
and he will
of
always
course.
be. So that was one big step for me. And the second was when the more and more I went into the spiritual life and I connected with myself, I felt that everything was happening in the life was at the exact like divine timing. So also the timing when he passed away was his divine timing. And I had to just acknowledge that. The moment I accepted that, and I felt gratitude for everything what happened and all our over 30 years together, because I was I think 35 when he passed away. So I felt grateful. Like, wow, some people even cannot, they don't know their grandparents, and I spent 35 years with my grandpa. So the moment I was working with gratitude, with acceptance, and of course the feeling of grandpa being present energetically in my life, that created the whole shift. And then I went deeper into our ancestors, because I also realized that also in my line, my family line, there was a lot of lung problems. My grandpa, which I just thought about, died because of lung problems, lung disease. His mother died because of lung disease. So I realized that, wow, this what I managed to clean from my side, the toxins, the pathogens, my emotions, was already quite much, and maybe 80% of why I was dealing with lung problems. But then there was this still, say 20, maybe 30%, which I couldn't understand, because come on, I did all the work.
Of course.
And then when I start to go into like past lives of mine, and also like ancestor, I realized where there were about some blockages that needed to be released to be able to breathe again. And another thing I didn't mention, that it's related also to more physical aspects of the health. It's so-called recall healing. And in recall healing, there's a belief, or there's a theory, that every disease comes because of some traumatic event, that creates some belief in us, and because it's belief, it's a neurological response in our body. So lungs are like linked to the fact that you want to shrink, you don't want to expand. So for example, you may feel fear and you don't want to be seen, or you don't want to be in that environment anymore. And the same year, trust me, the same year when I got the lung problems, it wasn't just about grandpa's passing, but it was about my own, let's say, career life, like work life, when I was thinking what else in life I could do if not science. And I felt I was literally at my workplace in the laboratory, and I was saying to myself, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I want to do something else. And I didn't know what that would be. Like something inside was calling me to do something else, and I couldn't understand that time. And in recall healing, this kind of belief, this kind of thought even will shrink the lungs, because you don't want to be here. So you have to decrease the area of you. So the area of the breathing. So you see every theory, every root cause that I could potentially address, and I did, it's really linked to the improving of my lung function. And at the moment, sometimes I still have some breathing problems, but they are not any asthma attacks. They are just mild shortness of breath. And that's it. So I believe there's still something there to
of course.
But
But
needs to attention. But you see how many things had to be addressed to actually naturally heal the organ.
But this is what we want to invite you the most is we're not here to give you solutions. We're here to just open up the pathway of how you think. Because I believe education's most important function is critical thinking. It's saying, hey, if something is not working or if something doesn't feel right within my body, then something is not, it's not right. And listening to the body is so critical for this healing process, because most of us, when we are in a life or death situation or a very intense illness where there is no answer to it, there's nothing going on, but the one thing we can always rely on, if it's not the people around us, if it's not the medical industry, if it's not, even our own minds sometimes, we can always rely on our body, because this body, this vessel, has an incredible intelligence, and it is the closest thing, I believe, to unconditional love. Then basically the only thing closer than that is God himself, God itself, right? Source consciousness. And as there's some religious texts that say, we're made in the image of the creator. And I believe our body is the perfect example of this. And there's many actual studies that have read genetic code, and basically they've seen, like, essentially source imprint on that code, where the book of life of DNA is so ridiculously complex and so ridiculously advanced that there's no way random evolution could have created something so immaculate and something so precise and so refined. A creator, a writer of that code had to have played a role. There is no random sequences or random things that could have came together and created something this magnificent. So, with that said, I believe that our bodies have the truth. And there's many ways we can connect to this truth, this wisdom. And it can get you anything from, what vitamins and minerals do my body want at this time to support the healing process and to support all this, just the biological processes that go into it. Because that's number one support, biological support, saying, am I drinking enough water? Am I drinking enough live water? Meaning structured water, and you can easily structure water just by adding lemon to it. Basically, any kind of mineral substance brings life into water and helps your body absorb it better. And we're mostly water. So that's number one. Number two is the vitamins and the minerals. You know, some struggle with, absorbing specific things. Obviously, foods are the best ways to get minerals, but, certain supplementation is also. But the most critical aspect in how choosing a specific vitamin or mineral, choosing a brand, choosing, a food or a supplement, it all comes down to different ways to connect to your body. The one I use very frequently is, and to this day, for I think basically ever since I started my spiritual journey, I started doing muscle testing. I'm not going to go into a huge, explanation of that. You can look into YouTube videos. There's millions of those of people, training you how to do a little bit of muscle testing. So what this means is the body is strong in truth, and the body is weak in not when there's no truth or there's lack of truth. So when you want truth, you listen to the body, and the body will tell you. And it does take some practice, especially if we've been disconnected from our body for a long time, and we have almost like a war or a mistrust in the body, because we believe the body's failed us, or the body's not keeping up, or the body is, causing us so much suffering and pain, and you have no idea why it's causing us so much suffering and pain. So you almost feel like you're stuck in a prison. That's also, a quite unfortunate way of living. But as we connect to our body and really start appreciating the miracle that it is and the unconditional love that it has shown us, even through our times of ignorance where we didn't know any better, to how to treat the body, what to put in, what we were exposing it to, the different traumas that we have maybe experienced that now the body is trying to process without our ability to process either back then or even now. So there's so many layers of things that just a simple connection to the body and having a way, and a lot of times when you're having a challenge connecting through physical muscle testing, using an external source like a pendulum are something that can move essentially without the physical body or the mind potentially getting involved and skewing results. Like you can take just any simple uh, anything, any weight on the bottom with a string on top should create enough of an energetic channel where you can basically start asking specific questions, a yes or no, typically, and then you can get a result. Those are probably this is the this I stress it as probably one of the most um, influential things that has happened in my life because it helps you, especially if you're get into a spiritual understanding and journey. A lot of things do not make sense in a spiritual journey. A lot of things do not have linear results. Action result. A lot of things are not they are counterintuitive where you know, s- things just don't make sense. So the mind will always want to make sense of something. So that's why the mind will get in the way and try to protect you from things that don't make sense and it doesn't know. So anything you can do to connect to truth, even when you're spinning an illusion and all the chaos that's happening in this world, knowing that you can come back to yourself and come back to the truth of your body and knowing your body will never lie to you, the one basically organism that cannot lie to you. It literally does not even have the capacity to lie. So I believe through that understanding and just through the awareness that your body is here for you, and and then this is also could be controversial, but all of the parasites and viruses and different things in your body like from candida to any kind of fungus to parasite to anything. We believe this is some kind of threat to us, some kind of uh s- something that's trying to take us out, right? Something that's trying to cause us harm to some degree. But I truly believe, and you please just take this if it resonates. And if it doesn't, you just let it in one ear, out the other. But if this resonates with you, really feel into the love that and the purpose that everything in your body has. Even the foreign, you may think invaders that come into your body through external sources, they're all trying to help you in some way. And when the issue is so big, it becomes a disease or a condition because it's just not manageable anymore. But the body and these so-called pathogens will try to help and assimilate this problem or even protect you, like shield it in a fungal growth or some kind of metastasis to protect you as long as it can until your conscious awareness, uh, uh, until you basically step in and say, hey, let's do this and this and this, and let's actually feel certain things so the body doesn't have to just hold the ground and hold the line for us.
And would you
So,
like to give an
yeah,
example when we were doing the session on you?
yeah.
And yeah, you want to share that?
The one with the parasite and the fungus. So, at one point, I don't remember what the beginning context of what it was, as just so many things happen in one day. So that probably was like 2, 3 weeks ago at this point. Um, so you can fill in the gaps on that, but basically, um, when you discovered you had the capacity to tune into somebody's field and see basically the biochemical structure and the intertwined with the chemical, like the biochemical components and the organ structure intertwined with some form of symbolism, but at the same time, it is also physical biology, and you were able to see how you saw like either a ring, not but the tapeworm and some fungal growth
Hmm.
that was
In your gut.
basically coexisting, but also kind of competing with each other, where it essentially was the tapeworm was not actually attached to my intestine, so it was not draining me, but it was actually working in some form or manner and helping me process deeper emotions because most of my issues were gut related. As you know, the gut lays in the spiritual circle as the sacral, and women that's the womb, and men that is just more or less the gut and an invisible, essentially, creative space, where most of the man's creative space is in the root and intestines. But for the most part, uh, I think you're better at sharing that story, because you kind of you experienced it.
Because I
But
experienced
yeah,
this.
exactly. For me, it was more like a heard story, so that's how I understood it. But it was a very beautiful experience. But yeah, I think you can share it a lot better
And
than I
that was
can.
I would say, one of the first experiences when I, combine my scientific knowledge with actually my intuition. And that was
Yeah,
something new to me. And when I went to your energy field, I really felt there's two pathogens in
yeah,
your gut. And as a scientist, I always believe that, oh my God, they are there to harm you. Yeah, there's a lot of scientific data on that, that
true.
different pathogens, fungi, they will cause chronic illnesses. And I will add this to the end. But first, I want to start with the story. So the moment I went to your field, and I felt the presence of something, and then I tuned into it, and I felt that's a pathogen, that's a parasite, and then even deeper, what parasite, and then what fungi is that? I felt actually like a friendly zone there. So I didn't feel like there would be a war, anger, or anything like that. I would rather feel in my energy, through my intuition, that they were there to help you, that they were there to process everything you were supposed to process. And as we discussed already at the beginning, our
Yeah.
digestive system doesn't only digest the food and absorb the nutrients, it also digests our emotions, and not even our emotions. So when I saw that, that was, let's say, a very interesting experience, but at the same time created even bigger war between my mind and my heart, because how me as a scientist could feel that the pathogens are not there to harm you. So my belief, and again, take to every listener, please take what only resonates. I'm just saying my truth and my feeling about it. We have those pathogens at the beginning because they are helping us to process something in our body that comes from much deeper level, from energetic body, from emotional body of ours. Of course, if we don't address the emotional and energetic root causes, the pathogens are staying there for long enough. And I believe that they are then long enough to actually cause also the physical problems. So the medicine will only look at the final result, means pathogens cause the physical problems, but they don't look at why the pathogens came there at first. And I really see pattern also with my clients of different pathogen happening to different person with, let's say, similar emotional imbalances. So I also experienced that same. Yeah, I had Epstein-Barr virus, I had Lyme disease, I had different parasites in my body. And the more I tune into it, I understood why they even came there, why I am always in molded place, why I react to mold and not other people react to mold. So, like we shouldn't, to my opinion, we shouldn't look only at the bad aspects of the pathogens, but also as the messengers of our deeper imbalances, and we should tune to the same balances. But at the same time, when we feel the emotional imbalances, when we feel the energetic blockages, we should help our body to get rid of these parasites or of other pathogens, because in long term they will cause inflammation, they will cause some scarring of the tissue that eventually may lead to organ damage.
And the beauty of the body is when you allow the blueprint of the body to be as clear as it can be. And as I was talking about, when your cells go from the quantum into the physical, as it's referring to a clearer blueprint, the body has much more freedom to do the biological processes it's designed to do. So most of the time, the intense detoxes that are recommended are done through some kind of purging or some kind of uh, essentially killing of specific pathogens is only, I would say, needed for extreme cases. And even in extreme cases, obviously you have more experience in this, but even in extreme cases, um, it could overwhelm the system. So trusting that the body is an incredible intelligence and it knows exactly what to do with these pathogens, especially when it's allowed to do what it does, especially with the results of like when you fast for 2 to 3 days, your body starts actually sending stem cells and different things to start repairing things because now it's not focused on digesting in the moment and all of this energy spent on other things, and it has resources to fix cellular damage, things that it doesn't have the bandwidth to do when it is under stress. So when we work with the body as a co-creative team, because the body intelligence and your intelligence as your soul is essentially using the body to experience this reality in physical form, and we're both basically you're in partnership with the physical body you're in. So when you're in partnership with this body of yours, you can actually create so much beauty in this world and so much freedom in yourself because now you're not fighting the one thing that's keeping you in this experience, the one thing that's allowing you to experience the joy, the sadness, the bliss, the anger, the all of the ranges of emotions that you've come here to experience. The body is the sole vessel that allows this experience. So the appreciation and the gratitude that we should really have for our bodies and for the roles that they play, and giving them, it's just like a partner that you love. You want to give them the best chance to succeed, not just to survive, but to thrive. So that means going into the physical care of proper hydration, proper minerals, proper diet, and eating also with joy, eating with excitement. Because this is one more thing that I do want to mention, and eventually it'll be spoken in much greater lengths with when we'll talk about safety, and the safety is a whole topic we could just talk about by itself. But essentially with food, it's it's not just what we eat. And I use this example, which I know you will you maybe push on me a little bit, but essentially like, when a lot of people enjoy desserts and sweets like cake, right? Most most people understand that cake is not nutritionally dense. There is no real nutritional benefit in a chocolate cake. There is a lot of joy benefit in a chocolate cake, but there's not a nutritional benefit. Basically, all you're getting is,
Some
yeah,
small, because
there's
of
a small,
cacao.
but mostly you're getting some mostly fat, sugar, and a little bit of protein, right? That's just the carbohydrate, the macronutrient breakdown. But if we eat this cake with guilt or with doubt or with shame, we're making it even more, we're making it actually a poison. And this is one concept that if you don't take anything out of this podcast, but this one specifically, I feel like it will change your life specifically. I would also recommend highly, some form of body testing and connecting to your value intelligence. But the emotions that we put on our food is so detrimental to our health. It's We can literally eat a salad and feel miserable about eating that salad, and that salad can actually poison us because of the how the frustration or whatever we may be feeling when we're putting into that salad because I feel like a rabbit, or whatever you may be thinking in that moment where you're eating something that is nutritionally helpful for you. It has the water, the structured water, the minerals, and all the fibers you need to have a healthy bowel structure and to feed your body. But if we're frustrated about it or whatever it is, then that creates um, energy that the body has to process, because most people don't understand that our body has to process that emotion as well as it processes the physical biochemical building blocks that you just gave it. Uh, on top of the fact that if you want to get to another level, if you go to a restaurant or something like that, and the chef might be having a bad day that day, and they can be, whatever happened in their life, and they're frustrated, and they're whatever it is, anybody that's making something will impart their energy into it. So knowing also how to clean your food, energetically speaking, is also can be a very important task, because I'm sure at one point or another you have experienced food from someone who is frustrated. Let's say a partner, you might be having, let's say, a fight with your partner, right? And they're really upset, but they're still going to make you food, right? Tasting that food and and it could be the same ingredients, same everything, from frustration or from love, will be a different taste, will be a different experience. You might not be super consciously aware of it until now, but it will. I really believe if just people even thought about that aspect, life would be so drastically better for them and for their digestive system, their body, that and to go back onto just a quick clearing technique for food, it's so super simple. There's nothing you have to be complex about. If you do an outside spiral on top of your food, that removes emotion. And then when you create the clockwise spiral down, it adds light back into the food. It's super simple. You don't have to do anything fancy, but simply doing that can actually purify your food energetically. So you don't have to take on additional um, uh, emotions on top of the biology, regardless of what you're eating. So if you're going to have cake, enjoy the damn cake, right? If you're not, what I'm saying, and if you're gonna eat, something healthy, find joy. Do your best to enjoy the experience as much as possible, because the joy will feed you almost as much as the nutritional value of what you're eating. Or
I want to add a few things. It's also the belief about the food.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to stress two things here. Number one, that of course you should enjoy the food you eat, but doesn't mean you should eat cake every day. And I know you probably knew it. I will say that.
Of course.
Because
Everything in moderation.
Yes, everything in moderation, because sugar is linked to every chronic illness or even acute illness. And number two, what I want to stress about, when you mention that our body can heal by itself, it sounds very easy, but of course the body can do it. It has a nervous system, it has immune system, it has all the detox organs like liver, kidneys, lymphatic system. But it sounds a bit like, oh, I can just sit on the sofa, take chips and watch a movie and my body will do it for me. No. So you have to actually prepare the body. You don't have to do really crazy detoxes or killing pathogens forever and ever, like I was doing before. You just have to prepare the body to such a level that it will do it by itself. Means you have to cleanse the body from toxins, pretty much synthetic chemicals like heavy metals as well. You shouldn't put anything on you that is synthetic. And again, I will really stress that nothing synthetic, nothing that you cannot eat. You shouldn't put this on your skin because it's absorbed. So the other thing, stress management, because stress is a toxin. It's just not
Stress
emotional.
is the worst, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not just emotional toxins. It's also physical toxins because it stresses the organs, so the organs cannot process any other physical toxins. So again, yeah, your body will do all the good work for you. You just have to support every single change. It's for your benefit.
Even the smallest amount of changes makes a big difference. Just the awareness that saying, hey,
Over
maybe
time,
today,
yes.
yeah, just over time, even if right now I might be overwhelmed with all of this, but even if I put a little bit of joy in my food and then just listen a little bit more to what my body actually wants and how it wants to function and what it needs right in this moment. It could be sometimes sunlight. It could be, if you're near water, to be near water. It could be going for a walk. It can be something very simple that you can do. And just by listening to even asking, for example, hey, body, what do you actually need? Because many people don't even begin the question of asking because they don't think their body needs things. It just functions by itself and, is ignored. And basically basically it's an ignored child somewhere in the back of the corner that no one needs to pay attention to. And if we treat your body that way, of course it's good. It'll still love you unconditionally. That's the thing. It'll never stop loving you and it'll never hold anything against you. It'll work until it cannot work anymore. And if that doesn't help you connect your heart to your body, knowing that you have basically trillions of cells that love you to such a degree, no matter how much you abuse them or mistreat them or poison them, they will work on you until they physically will die, right?
So love
And
them back
yeah,
by taking
so
care of them.
yeah. Yeah. So really just understand how loved you are. If you've never felt love in your entire life, knowing that you're literally you're surrounded by love in a very biological way. Every single cell in your body loves you to such a degree that it will go to war for you 24/7. So really understand that, feel that. And when you know that, life just becomes just incrementally better because now you're not alone, even if a lot of us do feel alone sometimes in this journey, in this process. But knowing that your biggest ally is literally your cellular structure, it does create a different way of looking at life and to moving forward with life, and helps you basically move through any challenge uh, with much more grace, much more ease, and much more gratitude. Because at the end of the day, all of our challenges lead us to some form of development, some form of, hey, I've experienced this, so others don't have to experience this. I've experienced this, so I can be stronger for maybe a mission that I have in moving forward. Whatever your calling is on this planet, your body is here to help you. So listen to it as much as you can. And whatever, there's so much information now. Even if you say how to listen to your body on Google, there's going to be some form of ways that you can start connecting in whichever path resonates with you. It doesn't have to be muscle testing. For me, it works the best. For others, it can be, tarot cards or whatever, modality or astrology or system that you want to use, or even religion. Religion also can be used in some form of connecting back to source and knowing that there's something greater than you, even though you are the greatness. But some people need to go through the cycle before they understand that part. uh, but just knowing that whatever helps you feel safe in that moment, whatever helps you feel supported, whatever modality, whatever tool, use that to help yourself connect back to yourself. Because really, at the end of the day, through all of the struggles, from the physical to the emotional to the familial to the relational, all of that, your body's here for you and it's going to go to bat for you. All you have to do is just give it some help and some love, and it will give you 10 million times back. Because that is basically, every cell is the representation of source, and source loves us all ridiculously amounts, even when we're lost, even when we don't feel like we deserve it, and even when it feels like all hope is lost.
And how to even start loving your own body is just the recognizing what suits the body and what's not. And that's going back to, for example, to food topic. If you eat something and you feel like, oh, I feel quite bad, it doesn't go with me, then don't eat until you fix the problem. You need to really listen. There's so many methods how you heal yourself, and we are just exploring these methods and we are sharing them with you. Listen to your gut feeling and listen to your intuition, what method resonates the most with you.
I believe, is there anything else we can talk about here? Because I feel like we've given people quite a bit of information here. We've really unpacked,
I would
not
say
just,
let's leave it like this. Let's give
yeah,
the people a time to digest this information and take
yeah.
all what they need from it. And yeah, thank you everybody for listening. And
You know what? Let's do a little spontaneous thing because sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. But I feel if we do a little bit of a meditation here to kind of connect into the body a little bit and then into the earth, I feel
sounds
like
good.
that will give people something they can always come back to, and if they don't find anything out there, maybe this will resonate. And typically, if you're listening to this, there's a good chance there's something resonating here, especially if you got all the way to the end. So let's just do a few deep breaths. We'll start with closing our eyes, connecting to the center of our chest, our heart space, taking 3 deep breaths, and then exhaling anything that's just any heaviness, any tension in your body with an audible sound. Ah. And if you're in public, you can just do a heavier sigh. And now, as we're feeling the center of our hearts, we bring this this beam all the way down through our solar plexus, which is our stomach area. Then we go into our the gut, which is the solar plexus, and then closer into the sexual centers where, depending if you're a man or woman, you'll have your respective parts there. And then from there, we go deep, deep, deep into the center of the earth. And in the center of the earth, we will feel the Mother Earth's presence. The earth and our body is no different. And in this moment, we will feel just that. We will feel how loved and supported we are, not just by our bodies, but by the mother. The mother that loves us unconditionally, just like our bodies do, even when we harm her, even when there's all these things that happen to the planet that maybe we're not doing, but humanity as a whole is not treating the earth so well. But in this moment, we know the unconditional love is present regardless. And through this presence, we can feel her love and the love of ourselves. Solid, grounded. Take a moment just to feel the love of the mother coming from the center of the earth, through your feet, into your heart. And now, as you feel the earth's love, the mother's love, feel every cell in your body vibrating with that same love, with that same groundedness, with that same compassion of, I am with you. Are you with me? And if you answer yes, you can feel the excitement in every cell. You can feel the love of the mother. You can feel the excitement of the earth beneath you. And when you feel all of that, send gratitude out to your body and to the mother all at the same time. You can replicate this at any point, at any time. Come back to this meditation at any moment. It is always available to you. Take as long as you need to stay in this. We love you very much. You all, this is Source Medicine with Nikolay and Anita.